Let's find out if the dollar is going to have power moving forward, right? Or is it losing its status? And how will that affect us if it does? Let's jump in here. I'll put the link in the description down below. This title of the article is the US dollar losing its status as the king of currencies? The greenback is in a weaker position as China, Russia, and Iran seek to de-dollarize energy pricing and trading, experts say. This is from April 3rd of this year, 2023. Last year, the US dollar was king of the world. The world's reserve currency had once again confirmed its status as the ultimate safe haven, crushing rivals gold, the Swiss franc, Japanese yen, and Bitcoin. As the U.S. Federal Reserve raised rates to fight inflation, overseas investors piled in seeking a higher rate of return, driving the dollar to a 20-year high. Then, as September drew to a close, sentiment shifted. Instead of fleeing trouble, investors started looking forward to the day when the Fed declared victory in the war on inflation and started cutting interest rates again. Falling U.S. interest rates would turbocharge global stock markets as investors embraced risk again while fleeing bonds. Anticipating this moment, the U.S. dollar index, a measure of the value of the greenback against a weighted basket of major currencies, duly crashed, falling 10% from last autumn's highs. It staged a brief rally during the banking crisis when investors ran scared of another banking meltdown, but has been sliding again in recent days. A weaker dollar would be welcomed by many after last year's dominance, including in the U.S., says Victoria Scholar, head of investment at Interactive Investor. It could boost the U.S. stock market by making the country's exports cheaper to foreign buyers. Apple, Amazon, Tesla, Nike, and others have all pointed to the greenback's appreciation as a significant headwind for profitability. A dollar sell-off could also boost demand for oil, gold, and other commodities, which are priced in dollars and will be cheaper to buyers in other currencies if the greenback fades. This will boost the economies of emerging markets, countries such as Brazil and Mexico, which are heavily reliant on these exports, Ms. Scholar says. The strong dollar has been tough on emerging markets by driving up the cost of servicing their dollar-denominated debt. See, that's what I've heard. You know, I rarely think of other countries in the world. And, I'm going to start thinking more of them because we're all connected. And I think some of the things that our government and the monetary policy our government does, I think it hurts them, right? I think we take care of ourselves and then, who cares about what happens in the rest of the world? And I think that's a shitty move. These could now become more manageable if the dollar continues to weaken, giving them a further boost. Emerging market inflation rates may also fall as their own currencies strengthen against the dollar, Ms. Scholar says. Currency values swing all the time, but the dollar now faces a major long-term challenge to its reserve currency status. So here's what I'm talking about. Are we going to be okay or are we not going to be okay? Now, not everybody likes playing by U.S. rules. Russia and China would like to call a halt to dollar hegemony, and they're not the only ones. In 2019, Malaysia's then Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad proposed the idea of a common trading currency for East Asia that would be pegged to gold. At the start of the millennium, almost 3/4 of global currency reserves were held in dollars. Today, that has fallen to 59%. That's a pretty significant fall, according to the International Monetary Fund. And the slide looks set to continue. The dollar's reserve currency status hands the U.S. political power as well as economic strength, and it hasn't been afraid to use it. To punish Russia for invading Ukraine, Western governments froze 300 million of Russia's foreign currency reserves last year, roughly half the total, and expelled Russian banks from the SWIFT international payment system. See, a lot of people think that was a bad move, and from what little I know, it sounds like a bad move. It just doesn't seem like we're in a position. It seems like we're in like the last kicking stretch of like trying to hold on to it. I don't know. I mean, we're really in danger here in the United States. And the reason I share these articles is the more people are aware and awake of what's going on, we can maybe do something about it. We know our politicians aren't going to do shit to help us. They don't give a shit about the American people. The sooner everyone realizes that, the better off we'll be. I love America, but our politicians leave a lot to be desired. And I realize that in other countries, they have similar problems. But right now, we're talking about the Americans, the United States. So-called dollar weaponization has rattled many countries and not just Russia, says Jason Hollins, managing director of investment platform Best Invest. Countries willing to continue to trade with Russia, like India and China, have started doing so in rupees and yuan instead, triggering talk of the de-dollarization of the international trading order, right? See, that's what could potentially happen. Brazil and China are now trading with each other in yuan, helping to establish the Chinese renminbi as an international currency and dollar challenger, especially in commodities, Mr. Holland adds. Dollar pricing makes life difficult for other countries because when the greenback rises, essentials like oil get more expensive, leaving the big commodity importers at the mercy of exchange rate movements. Strengthening economic ties and trade relationships between China and Russia are enhancing the yuan's appeal because it offers them a more stable exchange rate, says Vijay Valesha, Chief Investment Officer at Century Financial. The so-called petro yuan would make big inroads into dollar dominance. Mr. Valesha says even G10 nations are shifting away from the dollar and towards local currencies as a safeguard against a soaring dollar and a U.S. debt ceiling blowup. That's another thing. They just keep raising the debt ceiling. I mean, it's only a matter of time. Right? No currency lasts forever. And I heard years ago that once a currency reaches, I believe it was 72% debt to GDP, it never comes back and it always crashes. And we're at we could be even at 110%. Last time I checked, we were at like 109 or 108%. I think we're in the ballpark there. That's not good, right? This is why people are saying, watch your assets. Be very careful in the coming months and years. Reports of the death of the dollar have been around for at least 50 years, but it hasn't stopped. It hasn't happened yet, said David Morrison, senior market analyst at Trade Nation. However, the dollar is in a weaker position and moves by China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Iran to move away from pricing and trading energy in U.S. dollars. Let's see here. The U.S. dollar still dominates global trade with almost 90% of Forex trade involving the greenback. It is hard to see the dollar losing its reserve status in the near to medium future, says Giles Coughlin, chief market analyst consulting for HYCM. Yet, with some economists predicting that China's GDP will outpace the U.S. by 2030, the next decade will be crucial. If the dollar does lose its reserve status to the yuan one day, the subsequent drop in demand would hit the greenback hard and boost rival currencies such as the euro, Mr. Coughlin said. See, that's what appears that will happen, is that we may hang on and hang on and hang on, but when that shift comes, it'll come quickly and swiftly, right? In the U.S., borrowing costs would surge as demand for government bonds crumbles, while its substantial debt pile would also grow at pace. Crazy. Politically, the impact would be even greater. China would become the dominant global force, he says. Dollar strength has been built on U.S. economic wealth, political stability, military might, rule of law, property rights, and sophisticated financial systems, none of which are going to vanish overnight. That's true. However, the Democrats are working very hard. Joe Biden and the Democrats are working very hard to undermine all of those things. I mean, maybe not property rights, but they're just wrecking the system as we speak. The yuan makes up just 7% of global foreign exchange transactions, a small but fast-growing share, Mr. Coughlin said. The global economy is hardwired to the U.S. dollar, but as China's influence and power grows, that could change as more countries start using the yuan. King dollar is a long way from losing its crown, yet after a century, it is finally facing a serious challenge of its power. You know it is. There it is. There's the article. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like and share this one with someone who you think might need to know this information. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. And until next time, I wish you all the best health, wealth, and success. Thank you.